Short and singular rations. As many will remember, the clipper ship Hornet of New York was burned at sea on her passage to San Francisco. The disaster occurred in latitude 2 degrees 20 minutes north, longitude 112 degrees 8 minutes west. After being 43 days adrift on the broad Pacific in open boats, the crew and passengers succeeded in making Hawaii. A tribute to the courage and brave endurance of these men has been paid in a letter detailing their sufferings, the particulars being gathered from their own lips, from which the following excerpt is made. On Monday, the 38th day after the disaster, we had nothing left, said the third mate, but 1.5 pounds of ham. The bone was a good deal the heaviest part of it, and 1 soup and bully tin. These things were divided among 15 men, and they ate it all, 2 ounces of food each man. I do not count the ham bone, as that was saved for next day. For some time now, the poor wretches had been cutting their old boots into small pieces and eating them. They would also pound wet rags into a sort of pulp and eat them. On the 39th day, the ham bone was divided up into rations and scraped with knives and eaten. I said, "You say the 2 sick men remained sick all through, and after a while 2 or 3 had to be relieved from standing watch. How did you get along without medicines?" The reply was, "Oh, we couldn't have kept them if we'd had them. If we'd had boxes of pills or anything like that, we'd have eaten them. It was just as well. We couldn't have kept them, and when we couldn't have given them to the sick men alone, we'd have shared them around all alike, I guess." It was just rather in jest, but it was pretty true jest, no doubt. After apportioning the ham bone, the captain cut the canvas cover that had been around the ham into 15 equal pieces, and each man took his portion. This was the last division of food the captain made. The men broke up the small oaken butter tub and divided the staves among themselves and gnawed them up. The shell of a little green turtle was scraped and with knives and eaten to the last shaving. The third mate chewed pieces of boots and spit them out, but ate nothing except the soft straps of 2 pair of boots. Ate 3 on the 39th day and saved 1 for the 40th. The men seem to have thought in their own minds of the shipwrecked mariner's last dreadful resort, cannibalism, but they do not appear to have conversed about it. They only thought of casting lots and killing one of their number as a possibility. But even when they were eating rags and bone and boots and shell and hard oak wood, they seemed to still have had a notion that it was remote. They felt that someone of their company must die soon, which one they well knew, and during the last 3 or 4 days of their terrible voyage they were patiently but hungrily waiting for him. I wonder if the subject of these anticipations knew what they were thinking of. He must have known it. He must have felt it. They had even calculated how long he would last. They said to themselves, but not to each other, I think they said, "He will die Saturday." And then there was one exception to the spirit of delicacy I have mentioned, a Frenchman who kept an eye on strong personal interest upon the sinking man and noticed his failing strength with untiring care and some degree of cheerfulness. He frequently said to Thomas, "I think he will go off pretty soon now, sir, and then we'll eat him." This was very sad. Thomas and also several of the men state that the sick Portuguese, during the 5 days that they were entirely out of provision, actually ate 2 silk handkerchiefs and a couple of cotton shirts, besides his share of the boots and bones and lumber. Captain Mitchell was 56 years old on the 12th of June, the 40th day after the burning of the ship, and the 3rd day before the boat's crew reached land. He said it looked somewhat as if it might be his last one. He had no birthday feast except some bits of ham canvas, no luxury but this, and no substantials, save the leather and oaken bucket staves. Speaking of the leather diet, one of the men told me he was obliged to eat a pair of boots which were so old and rotten that they were full of holes. Then he smiled gently and said he didn't know that, but what the holes tasted about as good as the balance of the boot. This man was very feeble, and after saying this he went to bed.